I thought I'd make a quick video for those who are curious on how to take a hindquarter apart and utilize some of the bigger muscles for steak meat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking this thing apart muscle by muscle. And what you do is start on the exterior and cut along the seams here, here, and just start pulling it apart. So basically what I do is I cut along this line, use my fingers to pull back and separate the muscles apart. It's going to come loose from your hip bone. Make a straight cut right along the top of the sacral vertebrae, right here to loosen it. Work your way down, pulling and cutting. Peel it back, and there it's loose. Then next, flip my hindquarter over and loosen this muscle here. This is your round cap. Work your way around it, loosen it, lay it back. Then you can work around this. This is your inside round, cutting between the seam here, cutting around, pulling back, and loosening the muscle down along this edge. And then also you're going to cut it free from your H-bone. This is it here. Cut it free here, lay it back this way, and roll it out. This here is your inside round. You could take it and skin off all these membranes here, a little bit here on this end, just a little bit. The grain runs this way, so you want to cross cut it like this. Makes great steak meat. You can also cure it and make pastrami or corned venison. Really nice piece of roast as well. So there's that, and I will keep going in a second. Next to come off is this muscle here. It's the semimembranosus or tendinosus. The exact name escapes me at the moment. It wraps around the back of the leg. Loosen at this end, roll back, cut loose here. This here's actually one of the toughest muscles in an entire carcass. You can cross cut it, peel it out, make it into steaks. I would say its best use is probably for jerky. It does cook up okay. Cooks up real white. It's lighter colored muscle. But up to you. You skin off those exterior membranes and actually makes okay steak. I flipped the leg back over to the exterior side. This is your flat. You're going to cut up here alongside your sacral vertebrae. Loosen it. This is a great muscle to use for steak. It's called your flat. Right here on the side, you have an accessory muscle that you're going to want to trim off right here. And then I'll show here in a little bit how you remove this membrane off of here, trim off your veins and whatnot. Also another good muscle to cure for pastrami. But once again, great steak meat. Cross cut it this way. Your grain kind of runs at an angle this way. Cut it that way. Very good chicken fried steak. Next off is the muscle here in the front of the leg. This right here. Lay it back. Pull it apart. Cut right there. Separate from this muscle here. This is your tri-tip. You from California, you probably know what a tri-tip is. Not such a great cut on a deer. Kind of thin. Real good for jerky. Just trim off that muscle membrane and slice it for jerky. Next, you have these muscles right here. Tie in to the top of the femur and also into this sacral vertebra here. Start pulling back this way. Cut underneath. Roll backwards till you turn it loose from your hips. Makes pretty decent steak. I would say mostly for jerky meat. And trim it up a little bit. Slice it. Real clean, smaller cut of meat. You're going to want to cut this off, pull it up, separate it. That is your popliteal lymph gland found in the hind leg, and some associated sciatic nerve and arteries. Next, you remove the knuckle. To do that, you're going to loosen it here at the top, cut along the femur bone, and around this here. This is your patella, your kneecap. You're going to slowly loosen it from the bone on this side. And then you're going to flip it over and start on the back side. On this side, what you do is there is a natural muscle seam that runs right along here. Separate these muscles, peel them back. That'll expose your knuckle. And loosen it here at the top. Cut along your femur bone and loosen it on the patella side here. And that is the knuckle. I think there's 3 separate muscles inside here. It does make steak. You can take it apart and peel it out. I don't recommend it for that. It's a fairly tough cut. Better used for jerky and works real good for that. Next, I pull the round cap and all these little smaller accessory muscles. Pull them loose, cutting as I go. They're going to be attached up alongside the underside of your hip bones, right along there. Cut them loose, set them to the side. They usually go in the grind. There's not a whole lot to work with there. They're fairly small muscles, kind of tough. So then the last part at the top is this little kind of wedge shaped piece of meat. It's attached to the femur, and then the underside of the hip, you loosen along here and turn it loose. This actually makes really good steak. This is a nice little cut. Grain runs this way, so slice across this way for steak. Just make sure you peel off the silver. Next is basically what would be equivalent to you as your calf. Separate here, and on the opposite side, same thing, muscle seam, and loosen it here behind the knee. Roll it back, and then you're going to want to cut it right here to remove your Achilles tendon. This is fairly tough. I guess you could probably separate it, use it for jerky, but anything from the lower legs, the shank meat, this calf meat will go into the grind, cut across the grain because you have some fairly heavy connective tissue that runs through this portion. The last part is your shank removal. I'm going to cut along the seam here, start peeling it back, removing it off the bone, and then you're going to want to loosen it up here at the top and here at the bottom. And there's your shank meat. Make sure you trim off the heavy connective tissues, tendons here on the ends, and then cross cut it, and you're good to go for sausage makings. I forgot there's one extra little muscle right here at the top that runs along the underside of your hip bone. Just cut it loose. Good for grinding. Make it sausage or whatever sounds good. And there's your hindquarter disassembled.